What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about the Iraqi dinar has been flipped upside down overnight, and the long-awaited breaking point that investors talked about for more than a decade is finally showing signs of becoming a reality? And before we go deeper into this unfolding situation, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications so you never miss critical global currency updates that could reshape your financial perspective in 2025, because today we're stepping right into one of the most talked about financial turning points of the entire decade as the Iraqi monetary framework starts revealing the structure of its revaluation and exchange mechanism in ways that were never previously confirmed publicly. And with the international community watching closely, the pressure on Iraq's central monetary authorities has accelerated to a level that analysts claim is the clearest indication that a controlled, phased, or strategic RV scenario might be entering a new chapter. But to understand the depth of what is happening right now, we need to look at how Iraq has been moving in 2024 and early 2025, where financial reforms, anti-corruption breakthroughs, trade digitization, and regulatory restructuring have silently but steadily been shifting the terms of how the dinar interacts with foreign currencies, especially the USD, which remains the dominant comparison point in Iraqi economic analysis, and according to multiple economic commentaries circulating across global financial communities, the government's persistent emphasis on stabilizing domestic purchasing power and reducing dollar dependency is being widely interpreted as a blueprint for future valuation adjustments, not sudden but strategic and long-term focused. And this is exactly where today's shocking development comes into play, because new conversations inside investment circles hint that Iraq's internal exchange system is being tested, refined, and upgraded with integration pathways that support smoother cross-border settlements, digital identification for financial institutions, stronger banking transparency requirements, and synchronized platforms for monitoring international transfers in real time, all of which match the structure typically adopted by countries preparing to adjust their currency position on the global stage. And these developments are not random nor speculative, because they align with Iraq's push toward modernizing its economy, diversifying its revenue streams, and creating a stronger financial identity that is less tied to instability and more aligned with controlled progress. And when you put all these elements together, the bigger picture begins to form: a nation rebuilding strategic confidence, a monetary system preparing for structural evolution, and an exchange environment being slowly molded into a format that can manage a stronger and more globally integrated dinar. And while nothing official has been declared as a final announcement, the patterns, timing, and reforms unfolding inside Iraq right now are exactly what analysts have predicted would precede any major shift in exchange value or RV-related adjustment. So stay focused, because in the next segment we're diving deeper into what this new exchange system framework could actually mean for investors watching from around the world. As the dust begins to settle from these surprising developments across Iraq's financial landscape, many experts are now emphasizing that 2025 might mark the first year where the conversation around revaluation steps into a more structured and observable phase, which explains why global investors, forex strategists, and economic researchers are paying increased attention to the mechanisms being tuned behind the scenes. And to understand the magnitude of this moment, we must explore the architecture of Iraq's newly emerging exchange system, because it represents more than just technical adjustments. It signals a directional shift toward transparency, regulatory modernization, and harmonized currency operations that could support a stronger dinar if economic conditions continue to align with Baghdad's broader national strategy. And right now, the most interesting part is how Iraq is redefining the flow of currency inside its borders by emphasizing digital verification, auditing improvements, trade settlement monitoring, and cross-institutional communication upgrades that collectively reduce manipulation, strengthen oversight, and increase trust between Iraq and international financial partners. And these internal enhancements create a foundation where the dinar can function more effectively within global market structures, since stronger compliance and real-time tracking reduce uncertainty and allow foreign institutions to evaluate Iraq's monetary reliability more confidently, which is often considered a prerequisite before any currency is repositioned or adjusted. And investors following these developments closely have noticed that Iraq's communication style has shifted from reactive to proactive, with the government presenting more structured information on its financial policies, trade reforms, and domestic currency stability goals, which in turn encourages markets to view Iraq as a maturing economic player rather than a volatile one. And when a country demonstrates consistency in these areas, it naturally positions itself to pursue broader monetary ambitions, including phased revaluation strategies or valuation recalibrations that align with macroeconomic objectives. And another factor gaining attention is Iraq's growing focus on integrating regional economic partnerships which could expand demand for the dinar in cross-border commerce, especially as Iraq continues forming stronger ties with neighboring markets and refining its role in energy-driven trade ecosystems which historically influence currency strength. And economic commentators have also pointed out that Iraq's long-term goal seems to be achieving a stable currency environment where domestic confidence is strong, business flow becomes smoother, and dollar reliance is gradually reduced through strategic policymaking rather than abrupt changes, which makes any future RV scenario more sustainable. And as these layered components are being assembled throughout 2025, analysts remain divided between two expectations: a controlled progressive valuation shift based on structural improvements, or a more direct adjustment once regulatory reforms hit their final checkpoints. But regardless of which pathway emerges first, the undeniable fact is that Iraq is actively laying down the infrastructure required for a stronger, more transparent, and more internationally adaptable dinar. And if this momentum continues uninterrupted, the upcoming months could reveal more clues about how close Iraq is to entering a new valuation cycle that turns speculation into structured economic reality. Now, as we enter the final part of today's deep dive, the most important question circulating among investors is what all of these developments ultimately signify for the Iraqi dinar's future, and whether 2025 will become the milestone year that shifts the narrative from years of anticipation to a concrete reality built on structure, economic reforms, and calculated decision-making. And to understand that, you must picture Iraq not as the unstable post-conflict economy it once was, but as an emerging financial system, actively implementing policies that support long-term monetary recovery, which include modernized banking operations, strengthened international cooperation channels, enhanced security oversight on foreign transfers, and a renewed governmental commitment to rebuilding domestic purchasing power. And if Iraq continues aligning its economic strategy with these pillars, then the dinar's position in the global exchange environment is likely to strengthen gradually, because markets respond positively to consistency, transparency, and measurable progress, which Iraq is demonstrating more clearly in 2025 than in previous years. And what keeps fueling the revaluation discussion today is not rumor but the observable pattern of reforms: increased digital integration in banking processes, coordinated regulatory enforcement, more transparent dialogue between Iraq and international institutions, and a continued push to reduce dollar leakage inside domestic markets, which all contribute to stabilizing the currency ecosystem in ways that analysts long predicted would be essential before any RV-related shift becomes viable. And while investors should remain realistic and focus on structural indicators rather than hype, the truth is that Iraq is undeniably moving into a more strategic financial posture that could unlock new opportunities for valuation adjustments in the long term. And with every passing month, the clarity surrounding Iraq's exchange system increases, which helps investors and economists evaluate the country's monetary direction with more accuracy. And as Iraq deepens its economic modernization efforts, the global financial community is beginning to take the dinar more seriously as an asset that might reposition itself depending on how effectively Iraq maintains reform momentum, manages internal stability, and strengthens its role in regional and international markets. And if these components continue aligning, then 2025 could indeed become a defining year where the groundwork for revaluation transitions from speculation into structured development rather than uncertainty, making this one of the most critical periods for anyone following currency reforms, forex trends, or emerging market opportunities. And with so much unfolding rapidly, you must stay alert, stay informed, and stay connected to reliable updates, because the next major shift might not come with warning. And before we close, remember this: if you want more deep analysis reports, RV updates, global currency insights, and unbiased economic breakdowns, then make sure to subscribe right now, like the video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share this with anyone who wants to understand the real story behind the Iraqi dinar's evolving journey, because the next chapter might be closer than we think.